how did you, I guess, find that space, find that quiet to really answer the questions that you needed to answer?
Well, just going back to the fear of change and uncertainty. My dad, who passed away 7 years ago, with his whole family by his side, it was a beautiful moment. He would say to us kids, it can be the fear of the unknown, or it can be the fun of the unknown. The choice is obvious. And so I grew up with parents and mentors that were really strong, and I'm so grateful for that, because those were my guiding lights in my most fearful moments during that time of change.
Hmm.
And what I did was, uh, I didn't really consciously start anywhere, Aaron. I think that what happened was this spirit, this life force carried me out and delivered me into places with people and certain environments where I was just guided. I really feel in my most fearful moments, and I'm wondering if you have ever felt this too, is that you were just being carried, like divinely carried, in moments that you look back and say, I would never have had the strength to do it myself, but I just felt like I was carried. And where I started was I was actually carried to a retreat center right by my house. I was carried there. I would never have gone there on my own. But somebody I bumped into talked to me about this place, and it's like my car drove me there. And what I found there was the thing that changed my whole entire life trajectory. And that was a labyrinth.
A labyrinth. You know, I've like that retreat I mentioned. I got to walk a labyrinth for the first time after going blind. Would you tell me, describe for me the labyrinth you walked?
A labyrinth is, you can look at it like a formation in the ground. It's a 4,000-year-old formation that the ancients knew there was something special. If you walked this pathway, it almost transports you into a portal where you can connect within, where you can connect with your soul, with your soul's voice. It is not a maze. If you would look at it, you would think that looks confusing. I don't want to even get near it. But it's not. It's one way in and one way out. The paths traverse, just like the paths that wind in our own lives. It's truly a metaphor for getting quiet, from starting from the outside world and walking the first steps inward to the center of the labyrinth, which is really walking the path to the center of ourselves. Now, the very first time I got to this labyrinth, I live in Arizona. So I'm walking this labyrinth in circles in the desert, thinking, I've just about gone crazy. What am I doing? But the very first day, I heard clearly my soul's voice, which means that anybody who's living a life right now, who feels like their life is out of control and loud, and they feel lost or they feel stuck, if you walk a labyrinth the way that I have found that it can create so much harmony in your body that you can get so still and hear the messages that your soul needs to share with you. And that day I heard the words surrender. Of all the messages that needed to come through that day when I finally got quiet, It was to surrender.
And what did that tell you?
I didn't know at first because my automatic negative thinking mind at the time said to me, there's no way in hell I can surrender. If I do, my whole life is going to fall apart. You know, we hold so much as human beings. We hold so much. We hold our own emotions, the emotions of others, experiences that were negative, but we haven't processed anything around those. We're holding so much. And at that moment, I was like, I have to hold it all to keep it together. I went back to my car that day. I turned on the radio, and the person on the radio was talking about, of all things, surrender. I had an immediate synchronistic experience that confirmed that whatever was going on in the labyrinth was now mirroring my outside life. And it was the most beautiful experience in that moment for me, because it gave me hope that there was something that I couldn't see, that I could have faith in. And I believe that there's a world of the unseen, and I'm not, say, a woo-woo person. I'm a very practical person, but there are forces in the unseen that are there to help us. Call it our intuition, call it our spirit guide team, call it God, call it the universe, whatever you want to call it. It was there for me that day when I desperately needed answers in the most difficult time in my life.